SpongeBob Squarepants Titans of the Tide is developed by Purple Lamp Studios and published by THQ Nordic. Two names that are already well known among fans of games based on popular franchises, especially those that blend nostalgia with modern mechanics. The official announcement came in mid-2025, with the launch scheduled for November of the same year for new generation platforms such as PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PC, and the recently launched Switch 2. Right off the bat, it is noticeable that the project sought to take advantage of the power of these machines to deliver polished graphics combined with the series' unique cartoonish atmosphere. In development, Purple Lamp adopted a 3D platforming style that aims not only to replicate, but to expand the traditional SpongeBob game experience. The idea of allowing quick swapping between SpongeBob and Patrick, each with unique abilities, seems to be part of an effort to deepen the gameplay and interaction with the game world. This alternation adds a tactical layer to the game and, in my view, it was a success to create characters with unprecedented moves, especially Patrick, who gains abilities like grappling and burrowing, making exploration more dynamic and fun. The plot, which posits the conflict between the Flying Dutchman and King Neptune as the cause of the disorder in Bikini Bottom, creates an interesting backdrop that goes beyond just being another SpongeBob adventure. From what was seen, the development team enjoyed playing with this mix of ghostly maritime mythology and the series' characteristic nonsense humor. Having to stop the ghostification of the world adds a somewhat dark yet comical tone, bringing a unique personality that makes the game stand out in the vast range of titles based on licensed characters. On the technical side, the development team paid special attention to recreating iconic locations from the animation, such as Neptune's Palace and Mount Bikini, which are not only beautiful settings but serve as terrain for challenges and boss battles that promise to be memorable. The detail in the setting shows that the studio wanted to respect and honor fans of the series, while also trying to innovate with locations like the snow-covered jellyfish fields, an idea that is quite unusual but works in my opinion, to renew the classic visuals and refresh the experience. An interesting new feature in the development was the introduction of the Ghost Board, a surfboard used for jellyfish fishing, which adds a new mechanic to the gameplay. From the impressions I had, this idea seems to have been well thought out to balance fun and challenge, as well as integrating typical elements of the SpongeBob universe. This kind of innovation is essential so that the game does not become monotonous, and it shows that Purple Lamp tried to cleverly combine fidelity to the original with fresh elements to attract both old fans and new players. Regarding the production process, it is worth noting that the launch was strategic, taking advantage of the peak capacity of the new generation of consoles to bring a polished and fluid experience, with responsive controls and light yet detailed movement. From what I could perceive, the development team took care to respect the humor and visual style of the cartoon, which is essential for a SpongeBob game, where the visual and audio identity is one of the main attractions. This includes a soundtrack that matches the locations and the caricature feel of the game, highlighting the dedicated work of the art and audio teams. The development of Titans of the Tide impressed me by managing to balance a sincere homage to the SpongeBob Squarepants saga with gameplay that feels current and challenging. Purple Lamp Studios managed to leverage the potential of modern hardware to create not only a beautiful game but also a fun one, with clever design choices such as the character swapping and Patrick's new abilities. It is possible to feel that the player experience was placed first, which, for me, is fundamental for the title to appeal to both the young audience and the veterans who have followed the franchise for years. The game presents one of the most interesting and creative stories in the series of SpongeBob-based games. The plot revolves around an epic and unusual conflict between two powerful figures of the underwater universe, the Flying Dutchman and King Neptune. These two characters, who generally operate in different spheres within the series, end up involved in a dispute of egos that unleashes ghostly chaos throughout Bikini Bottom. This conflict between titans, flooding the world with ghosts and specters, transforms familiar settings into environments full of mystery and danger, putting the essence of the place at risk. Throughout the game, it is SpongeBob and Patrick who find themselves on a mission to restore normalcy, a choice that I find quite successful, as the two characters offer a fun dynamic for the player. The narrative is not limited to being a simple rescue of the world. It involves the need for these two friends to combine their very different abilities to face the challenges that arise. The game manages to well balance the characteristic humor of the series with a slightly dark atmosphere created by the spectral invasion, making the story more engaging than I initially expected. The journey in Titans of the Tide leads us to explore very well-known and iconic locations from the animation, such as Neptune's palace and Mount Bikini, but under a new light, with visual and environmental alterations motivated by the presence of ghosts and mysterious forces. The feeling is of revisiting these places with a fresh, more challenging, and exciting perspective. Furthermore, the inclusion of places like Atlantis City adds a layer of submarine mystery that expands the universe of Bikini Bottom and its surroundings. One point that caught my attention in the story is the involvement of classic franchise enemies and bosses like the Flying Dutchman, King Neptune, and even Sandy in a ghostly hibernation mode. These confrontations serve to give a rhythm of adventure and tension to the narrative, but without losing the lightness and charisma characteristic of the cartoon. It is as if the game were a tribute to several important episodes, weaving the script with nostalgia and new ideas at the same time. The constant swapping between SpongeBob and Patrick throughout the story enhances plot elements, as it allows the characters' personalities and ways of acting to influence the reactions and solutions to the problems that appear. Patrick, in particular, who returns as a playable protagonist after being left out of other recent series titles, brings a different energy with his new grappling and digging abilities, which for me helps to create moments of break in the narrative, giving rhythm and freshness to the progression. Throughout the campaign, the story explores classic and light themes of friendship, courage, and intelligence, but with a touch of absurd and nonsense humor that is SpongeBob's trademark. The game also makes space for spectral and even slightly scary moments, which adds an unexpected layer of atmosphere without ever losing its fun tone. This mix works because it respects the essence of the characters in the series, but is not afraid to expand the lore in surprising ways. The story of Titans of the Tide seems to me to be one of the most creative in the franchise so far. It manages to be light and comical most of the time, but knows how to create tension and narrative challenge when necessary, which keeps the player invested from beginning to end. SpongeBob and Patrick form that inseparable duo that every fan wants to see in action, facing a problem bigger than themselves, but doing it with wit, grace, and strategy. It is an adventure that's worth checking out not only for the nostalgia, but also for the way the plot was well developed for a modern game in the series. Titans of the Tide brings a gameplay that skillfully balances classic 3D platforming elements with new features that refresh the gaming experience. The quick swap system between SpongeBob and Patrick is one of the biggest highlights, allowing the player to combine the unique abilities of each character to advance through challenges, which creates an engaging dynamic full of possibilities. SpongeBob maintains classic and reliable platforming moves, while Patrick emerges with unprecedented abilities like grappling and burrowing, which directly impact exploration and puzzle solving. The character's movement is fluid and pleasant, with responsive controls that make navigating the scenarios a constant pleasure. The adventure unfolds in diverse locations, including iconic areas like Neptune's Palace, Mount Bikini, and Atlantis City, each with its secrets, challenges, and detailed design. The atmosphere is colorful and true to the cartoon's universe, which helps maintain the fun and lighthearted tone, while the mechanics play with exploration and platforms in captivating and varied ways. One of the most creative mechanics introduced in the game is jellyfish fishing with the ghost board, which adds a mini-game within the main gameplay. This new feature brings not only extra fun, but also a challenge that breaks the traditional sequence of platforming and combat, giving the experience variety and a chance to breathe. In practice, surfing and catching jellyfish while facing obstacles alternates with moments of careful exploration and speed, making the game's pace pleasant and dynamic. Another point that caught my attention is the way the game introduces combat and boss fight elements, which include charismatic characters like the Flying Dutchman, King Neptune, and Sandy in her hibernation form. The confrontations are good examples of how the game knows how to mix the humor and characteristics of the franchise with legitimate challenges that require strategy and leveraging the characters' diverse abilities. These combat moments break the monotony of the fast-paced levels well and offer interesting peaks of difficulty and narrative. Collectability and puzzles are present in a light way, more accessible to younger audiences, but without sacrificing the interest of more veteran players. Using the BFF ring to swap between SpongeBob and Patrick allows solving situations where it is necessary to explore areas inaccessible with one character or interact with specific objects. This alternation is simple, intuitive, and brings a tactical layer that enriches the gameplay without making the game heavy or complicated. The gameplay is well structured and stands out for offering a balanced blend of innovation and tradition. The ease of switching between characters, combined with unique abilities and new ways of playing, creates constant fun with a balanced pace. The game presents graphics that, in my view, successfully capture the visual essence of the animated series while taking advantage of the technical potential of current consoles to deliver a colorful, vibrant, and detail-rich experience. The work of Purple Lamp Studios translates the classic Bikini Bottom characters and scenarios into 3D models that faithfully resemble the series' famous cartoon style. With strong colors, clean textures, and lighting that highlights the underwater atmosphere without losing the cheerful and fantastical aspect. The game environments are a visual highlight in themselves. From iconic areas like Neptune's Palace to the snow-covered jellyfish fields, the variety of landscapes shows the team's concern with diversifying the visuals to keep the adventure always fresh and interesting. For me, this diversity of scenarios is really one of the game's greatest graphic strengths, because besides being pleasing to the eye, it greatly contributes to immersion in the story, giving a feeling of a lively and dynamic world. In terms of graphic effects, the intelligent use of particles and lighting effects creates an atmosphere that alternates between cheerful and ghostly in a very balanced way. The ghostification of Bikini Bottom, which is central to the narrative, comes to life with visual effects that are not heavy, but work very well to set the tone of mystery and adventure, without losing the franchise's characteristic humor. This, in my experience, makes the visuals engaging, creating a contrast that highlights the different stages and challenges of the game. Compared to previous SpongeBob Universe games, Titans of the Tide appears to be the one that best explores the hardware of the current generations. The level of detail on characters like SpongeBob and Patrick, who have very fluid facial expressions and animations, raises the bar for a family game that does not look visually simplistic. The character's movement is well accompanied by natural animations, which made me feel that the game has a special care to keep each one's personality alive. Another graphic aspect that deserves mention is the design of enemies and bosses, who cause visual impact and do not look like merely generic models. The presence of the Flying Dutchman, King Neptune, and Sandy in her hibernation form receives a visual treatment that makes it clear that they are the major forces within the game's universe, with ghostly aura effects and details that reinforce their importance as memorable bosses. This attention to detail made me more immersed and motivated to overcome the proposed challenges. Despite the beautiful and detailed visuals, I had the impression that the game does not seek hyper-realism or ultra-modern graphics, which is excellent for maintaining the cartoon's identity. The cartoon aesthetic is respected to the maximum, and this is fundamental for fans who want to feel the spirit of SpongeBob in an interactive medium. Some might find that it has a slightly retro charm, but for me, this only reinforces the attachment to the original series while using contemporary technology to enhance the experience. The combination of colorful graphics, smooth animations, and effects that help tell the story visually make Titans of the Tide an attractive experience for any player who likes the SpongeBob universe. The meticulous setting, the faithful line of the characters, and the intelligent use of technical effects create a world that not only entertains, but also visually enchants. In my opinion, it is one of the game's most solid aspects and one more reason to recommend the adventure to those who enjoy family games and 3D platformers. Titans of the Tide delivers a generally solid performance, especially considering the new generation platforms where the game is launched. On PlayStation 5 Pro and Switch 2, the frame rate tends to stay stable at 60 FPS most of the time, which is essential for fluidity in a 3D platformer where precision and timing make all the difference. This stability contributes to a pleasant experience without frustrations, increasing immersion in the SpongeBob universe. During game sessions, I noticed that even in more loaded areas, such as when many collectibles appear when breaking boxes, the performance remains consistent most of the time. There were specific moments where the game presented small temporary frame drops, falling to around 30 FPS, but these are isolated events and do not hinder the gameplay. This slight oscillation can occur due to momentary processor overload in certain scenes, but it is acceptable within the general context. On PC and Steam Deck, the game also maintains good performance, reaching rates close to 60 FPS most of the time on low to medium graphics presets. The support for 1280 by 800 resolution helps balance visual quality and fluidity, which is great for those looking to play on portable devices or less powerful equipment. The game automatically recognizes the best balance between performance and quality, but always allows adjustments for the public to adapt according to the equipment. A particularly positive point of the performance is the fast loading time and absence of visible pop-ins, something that is quite impressive in a title of this size and with open and varied environments. This technical optimization shows the developer's care to ensure that the player has a continuous experience without interruptions that break the pace. This cleanliness in transitions is a differential that, for me, values the game beyond its nostalgic proposal. Although the performance is, for the most part, very satisfactory, the game made it clear that the performance mode on Switch 2 may still present occasional stutters, something that should be corrected in future patches. However, nothing that compromises the fun, especially for the younger target audience. This demonstrates that optimization is well underway, but still has room for polishing in the final stages of development. The controls respond very well on all tested platforms, with low latency and good input calibration. This is crucial for the game's 3D platforming, where precise jumps and movements are constant. The feeling I had is that the game was carefully tested to avoid technical problems that compromise gameplay, which is always a positive point in games based on famous franchises that can attract diverse audiences. Titans of the Tide seems very well delivered for a modern platformer. The stability of frames, the quick response of the controls, and the visual optimization for various platforms create an agreeable and fluid experience. Small moments of performance drop do not harm the game, and the technical care of Purple Lamp Studios helps sustain the quality of the fun adventure the title offers, reinforcing that it is a respectable production in the SpongeBob universe for 2025. Who is the game for? Basically, it is a fun choice for fans of the SpongeBob franchise looking for a friendly, colorful, and light-hearted adventure, ideal for audiences starting at 10 years old, but which can also please nostalgic adults who enjoyed the games and the series over the years. The platforming approach with puzzle elements and progression within a known world make it a safe option for those who like accessible and humorous adventure games, without major frustrating difficulties, but with plenty of content to explore. Regarding the price and whether it is worth buying at launch, the game has an average market value of about $40, which is reasonable for a title of this size and with several editions available, including a deluxe with a season pass and costume packs. Even so, my personal assessment after playing and analyzing what is being offered is that it delivers a solid, but not revolutionary, experience. So, for fans who want to enjoy it from launch, it makes sense to secure the game. But if you expect lower prices or a post-launch update, it might be worth waiting for sales when they arise. What made me most enthusiastic was how the game manages to be faithful to the spirit of SpongeBob. The absurd humor, the funny situations, the interactions between characters, and even Patrick's clumsy moments that bring lightness and fun. I felt that it was made by fans of the series, for fans, bringing many nostalgic moments that enliven the gameplay. The dynamic between the characters, with their complementary abilities, really makes the experience worthwhile and prevents the game from quickly becoming tiresome, even in longer stages. If you enjoy platform games with a good dose of humor and want to relive the SpongeBob universe in a modern and polished title, Titans of the Tide is a recommended purchase, especially if you like family adventures and want to enjoy the novelty without worrying about high difficulty. If you are not such a big fan or are on a tight budget, waiting for sales might be the best alternative. Because the game does not present itself as mandatory for all audiences outside the specific fandom, but it is certainly guaranteed fun for those who like the character and lighter 3D platform games.
Patrick, let's get to Pearl's boutique so I can buy my new uniform.
Good idea, SpongeBob. Rules are rules. And Mr. Krabs said you need a uniform.
Patrick, let's take a break from swapping. I'm feeling a little hollow.
Welcome to my boutique, where I sell the height of adventure fashion. I'm so excited. You're one of my first customers.
Très chic!
May we? Now what can I get for you? A crew uniform, perhaps?
SpongeBob, do you hear me loud and clear?
Where is he talking from?
Loud and clear, Mr. Krabs.
Excellent. Join me at the helm. On the double!
All right, the worky-talkie.